Truthiness is when you think something is true, even though there isn't any evidence to back it up. When it comes to healthcare, a lot of us think that doctors will step in if someone is making a bad medical choice, and that they will right the wrong to ensure the patient follows the doctor's advice and makes the best medical decision. I used to think that doctors could stop patients from making medical decisions that were bad and could negatively affect their health or end up hurting them. I think we think this idea is true because doctors are trained medical professionals, right? And we expect them to keep every patient safe. We also expect them to live up to the Hippocratic Oath, which states that I will abstain from all wrongdoing and harm. This makes us think that a doctor would be able to reverse the decision of somebody refusing life-saving treatment, for example, or making what is a bad medical decision. Now that I've learned consent and capacity in class, I've learned that the law works in very different ways, and it makes this actually a trickier problem than I at first thought. Canadian healthcare, specifically the Canadian Healthcare Consent Act, centers around that patients have their own personal autonomy. We note that patients have the legal right to make their own healthcare choices, even if those choices are against the recommendations of their healthcare professionals, and if they are unsafe ones. As long as they're able to have capacity to do so, capacity is defined in a very limited way. According to the Healthcare Consent Act, regarding capacity and consent, a patient is capable if they understand the relevant information and appreciate reasonably foreseeable consequences of that decision. Thus, the law does not require the decision to be reasonable, wise, or medically sound. This means a patient can refuse life-saving treatment, stop chemotherapy, or choose other therapies even if their doctor strongly disagrees with that decision, if they meet the capacity requirements under the Healthcare Consent Act. We saw an example of this in the in-class example of holistic wooden products that are promoted as an alternative for cancer treatment, right? As discussed in class, a person has a right to stop chemotherapy and instead use this alternative type of treatment, even though this would be a bad medical decision. And there's no science to back up the treatment as being superior to the current standard of care. And even if it may ultimately be a bad decision for their health, they can make that decision. The courts have confirmed this principle of autonomy. For example, in the case of Malette versus Shulman, the court emphasized that even life-saving treatment cannot be given without consent and that autonomy is more important than medical outcome. This principle, enshrined in Canadian health law, reflects society's preference to respect personal autonomy over the correct medical decision if the medical decision conflicts with the individual's wishes. A good representation of this perspective is noted by the medical portal, which notes that respecting patient autonomy is grounded in the principle of respect for individuals' rights and dignity, which recognizes that individuals have the right to make decisions about their own bodies, health, and their well-being. There is an exception where a patient did not meet the capacity threshold or a substitute decision maker is involved, and then the physician can override the decision, but again, only in that limited instant. When thinking through this taught me something that went against my common understanding of healthcare, and to come to the understanding that the healthcare system under Canadian law values autonomy as its utmost priority. The law will protect the person's right to choose, even if that choice ends up hurting them. My prior belief was based on the notion that one should follow the best advice that is given to them in all areas, especially medical advice. This belief is rooted in the notion that the doctor, having been trained in medicine, should be viewed as having the right medical opinion, and that should be taken into account in rendering care to the patient. I believe this is because I've been looking at the issue from the physician's perspective the whole time, but from the patient's perspective, there should never be an instance where someone else would or should decide to force a treatment on the patient. All in all, this has been a great example of how truthiness works in the medical field. We can better understand how our healthcare really works and why autonomy is such an important principle by looking at the law and the evidence and viewing it from both the physician's and the patient's perspective.